Hey, you're about to watch a training I just delivered to the Utopia.io members. The Utopia is the #1 marketing community for freelancers, agency owners, and service providers. I was asked by the CEO, a client of mine, Mubu, also known as the Wiz of Ecom, to deliver the most actionable value-packed training I could to help them access flow states every single day, and ideally be able to sustain them for up to 7.5 hours every single day. So I created a very actionable 1-hour training that has an accompanying tool that if you use it, if you really apply these very 3 simple protocols, you will see a massive improvement in your ability to focus and get things done. So watch the training, and when you have a very clear idea of how this all works, comment below and I will personally send you the template that I gave the Utopia.io community, and they're now using every single day to reach new heights in their life and their business. Let's get to it.
Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing absolutely amazing. I am smiling cheek to cheek right now because I have my freaking mentor in the call today. The gentleman who has helped me get out of a mental rut for years that I've been stuck inside of. The gentleman who has helped me scale my businesses beyond what anyone else has been able to do. I have Señor Leon Castillo. ¿Qué tal, hermano, man?
Muy bien. I'm delighted to be here with you, all of you, and I hope you're ready for what I brought.
Let's do this, brother. You can go ahead and kick everything off. Utopians, let's say some hellos in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and shut up now.
Awesome. Cool. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're ready for what I brought. So Wiz asked me to create a presentation that was as actionable as possible, that you guys could remember for many months to come. That really rocked your world and gave you a different understanding of what productivity actually is, what peak performance even means, and why should you care, right? By the end of this presentation, you are going to understand exactly how to structure a day for peak performance, how to structure an environment for peak performance, and how you collect data in order to undeniably become an elite performer. So it's very tactical. Everything that I'm going to be sharing with you is everything that I do basically every day. And Wiz knows this to be true because I already trained him in these very same protocols. And if you apply this, I can guarantee that you are going to be getting at least 7.5 hours of focus, if not more. But before we get into it, tell me in the chat, honestly, how many hours of pure focus, deep work do you get on any given day, on average? Tell me on the chat. 7.5. That's the standard. What about everybody else? You get 2, 3, 4, 6. How much do you actually get in pure focus? Okay, so 2, 3. That's about the average. 2. Well, guys, you're in for a treat. With L-theanine, 2 hours. Okay, so we're not going to be using any chemical. This is going to be purely optimizing your brain, right? So, all right, so 2, 3, 5. The average right now for the average knowledge worker, I think the latest statistics is about 2 hours and 40 minutes per day of pure and unaltered focus, right? The goal is to take you to 6, 7.5, even 9 hours per day. Can you get there and repeat this every single day? Yes, at least 5 out of 7 days per week, right? You got to train yourself. That training is basically all encompassing. You need to prime your spirit, your mind, your body, and everything in between to achieve it. But with 3 very simple practices that I'm going to be sharing with you today, you can have massive progress. And that is the goal of the presentation. So let me share my screen and let's start. If you're working 2 jobs, focus on secondary, you're in for a treat because this system is, you don't need to be an entrepreneur to implement it. We're going to be operating with your own brain, with your neurology, right? So if you do this, you're going to become wildly more effective on both your day job and the business, and that is going to help you move forward. So let's go. So let me share my screen. How can I share my screen? There you go. I got it. Okay, can you all see it, right? I have no access to the chat. Yes, I do. Okay, you got it. Okay, well, welcome. How to focus for 7.5 hours per day. This is not a miracle. This is just a result of training your brain and your mind for focus. And contrary to what you may have heard in the self-development world online, focus is not something you can directly attack. It's not something you can directly train. Focus is the outcome of doing stuff that induces focus. You cannot train focus. You cannot train flow states. You can create the conditions for flow states and focus to emerge. So what we're going to be doing today is to create the conditions with 3 specific protocols in order to be able to focus like crazy, right? So that is the goal. Now, why do we even need this? Why are we so unfocused during the day? Well, because, it couldn't be otherwise. The world is changing at an exponential speed. Technology is affecting everything. And that implies that the amount of inputs that your brain is subject to on any given day is wild. It's just off the charts. And we have come to a point in which we humans cannot adapt well to this technological world. There are so many inputs coming into our consciousness, so we are permanently distracted, especially if you do not train yourself. And the average entrepreneur never really trains this, because it implies that they never handle this change effectively. 40% of entrepreneurs never get more than 30 minutes straight of focused time. The average entrepreneur checks in email or instant messaging, so Slack, Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever, every 6 minutes. Every time you check in real quick, you are creating attention residue and cognitive load in your brain, which makes your brain work less efficient. About 30% of the day is wasted in distractions. About 9 out of 10 people procrastinate at least 2 hours per day. About 9 out of 10 have self-esteem and self-doubt as a result of that lack of performance. 7 out of 10 suffer both burnout or a stress that affects their health. And only 6% of entrepreneurs achieve their goals. Why is this happening? Well, the average entrepreneur has a high enough IQ, relentless work ethic, total commitment. So it's not like this is happening because there's no intelligence or no commitment or no ability to push forward. No, it's because there's something deeper going on. It's that the mind is not ready to handle the environment in which we inhabit. So this is the kind of work that I normally do with people. How can we optimize the brain and mind to function at its peak? Because your mind has not evolved to perform at your peak. You're wired for comfort, distractions, and negativity. And you know this to be true. You need specific training to consistently think, focus, and execute at peak capacity. In this day and age, you are not a knowledge worker anymore. You're a knowledge performer. You got to see your work as an athlete sees his work. You got to show up every day knowing how to get the most out of your day. Otherwise, you will waste the day. Train your mind for peak performance is the most important thing you could ever do. Literally, this is the key. Once you have good enough marketing skills, you know how to market. Once you have enough sales skills, you know how to sell. So what's missing for success? Doing it time and time again without getting distracted, overwhelmed, or burnout. And that can only be accomplished through mental training. And I'm not the only one who says this, obviously. McKinsey, which is arguably the most important management consulting firm in the world, already said in 2012 that the difference between an average performer and an top performer, so a 5 out of 10 versus an 8 out of 10, so we're not even talking about low performers or elite performers, in terms of performance was 800% in productivity in very highly complex occupation, which is how they call business, right? So a top performer was 8 times more productive than an average performer. And this is in 2012. This is before TikTok. So I'm not sure what the ratio would be now. We haven't found any research on this. But you must imagine that the jump is exponential. So training the mind to focus and perform is the best thing you could ever do in order to make your marketing skills, your sales skills actually shine. But entrepreneurs never train this because this is not something that gets discussed, which is why they fail or they take too long to find success. You can still win, but it's going to probably take a couple of decades and a couple of divorces. And if we can just train this very quickly, things are going to improve. Now, who am I? Why am I talking about this topic? Why I'm so passionate about it? Well, not long ago, I was an architect. I graduated as an architect when I was 26. Found my first job at 27. Let that sink in, because architecture in Spain back in the day was the hardest course. It was very tough. Not because it was difficult, but because they make it unnecessarily tough. The average time spent at college was 9 years. I spent seven years. So when I graduated, after many all-nighters, because we had to pull all-nighters pretty much every couple of weeks, I was in a very bad state. I couldn't focus. Induced ADT, so attention deficit trait, which looks like ADHD without the genetic component. I was a mess. 30 months after finding my first job as a real estate consultant, I was a private equity director, which normally takes 15 years. What changed? I geeked on peak performance. I hired every coach I could. I studied this very deeply, and I learned how to focus. So this changed my life, and it's going to change yours. So this is why I'm so passionate, because this basically built me into who I am. And now I invest, I coach, and I teach at university, and I have a fund, and I have Selfmastered. So the full optimization that we normally do requires a 360 transformation. You gotta master the spirit, master the mind, master your body, master the strategy, master the execution, peak states, and behavioral systems. But today, we're gonna be working through the most important steps to master two things: your focus and your ability to improve. If we get these two things right, you're gonna win. Now, at some point, you're going to be hitting your limiting beliefs. You're going to be needing strategic advice. So there's tons of things that go into really winning in business. But if you're able to get, you guys were saying 2-3 hours, maybe 4 hours of daily work, if you can double or triple your ability to focus, that is going to change it all for you. Are you ready? I can't see the chat, so I hope you all are. First, structure a day for peak performance, because performing at your peak goes beyond time batching. Goes beyond having theme days. You're really gonna have an understanding of how the brain works. And here's how it works. So first of all, we gotta prime the brain. Now it is popular to say that you don't need morning routines to just go straight into work. Well, as we now know, your mind is too far removed from the environment in which you evolved. Without training the mind, without priming your mind to actually perform, the full performance was not going to be great. A morning routine is a tool, a device you use to prime your mind for performance. So absolutely need a morning routine. This is non-negotiable, because nobody wakes up ready to crush it and manages to do so for 7.5 hours during the day. That's impossible. You got to train yourself. And training always starts in the morning. So a great morning routine, it doesn't need to be 3 hours, 8 different habits, do all sorts of crazy stuff. You just need to make sure that stress is kept low, and this is non-negotiable. There's some sort of mindfulness and meditation, because mindfulness and meditation are habits that have no substitute. This is what I call stillness. Meditation, which I can share my protocol after the call. I'm going to be giving you also a template for you to track yourself. I'm going to be sharing with you this presentation. So you're going to have all the information that I share with you guys. You're going to have it, right? So you can review it. But if you are interested in knowing how to learn to meditate, it's very simple, because most people are very scared. But whatever you do in the morning, meditate and do whatever you need to do that does not build up your stress. Does that make sense? This is important, because if you wake up, check your phone, get in a rush, don't get properly groomed, don't get properly chill, your stress levels skyrocket, and then the day goes downhill. So this is the simplest part of everything I'm going to be sharing with you, but it is very important to dispel this misconception that you need no morning routine. Is there a question on the chat? Cool, there you go. All right, so please, this is very important. You need a morning routine. It doesn't matter what you do. Don't take 3 hours. Take as minimum time as you need, but put meditation in. I only do 2 things in my morning routine: meditation and self-hypnosis, mental training protocol. That's it, 2 things. That's the only thing I need. Once this is clear, let's structure a day like an elite performer. Let's really understand how your mind works. Your mind is not constantly on. It goes through cycles. Most people know that during the night, you have the 4 stages of sleep that goes in 90-minute ways. Well, those rhythms, which are called sleep cycles, are also present during the day, but they're not apparent, they're not obvious, right? And especially if you're constantly paper cut and unfocused and your attention is tested through shorts and TikToks and whatever, you're obviously not paying attention to your natural energy levels. If on top of that, you're taking L-theanine, you're taking coffee, you're taking a bunch of stimulants just to stay awaken and focus, you're too far removed from your natural cycles. Learning to adjust your natural cycles is going to skyrocket your ability to do great work. All of us, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what's your prior training, you go through these cycles. They last between 90 to 120 minutes, but for the sake of the argument, we're going to just focus on 90-minute cycle. 90 minutes in which your energy naturally surges, and at some point you hit a peak, and then a trough comes, and you naturally start entering a low energy mode. That lasts for 20 to 30 minutes, and then you are back at it again. Over time, you can become better at regulating this cycle. So you can induce yourself to go into a high state if you learn how to do it, if you train yourself. But your day has to be broken in 90-minute cycles and then 30 minutes of rest. 90-minute cycles of work and 30 minutes rest. And this is what I call ring-fenced sessions. I'm on a personal mission, guys, there was an Italian dude who created the Pomodoro technique, which doesn't work. 30 years ago, well, now a Spanish dude, which is myself, is bringing the ring-fence session term to the world. So please start using it. But the idea is that this is the most, because it is validated by science, although they don't call it ring-fence session, to perform. Low performers and bad athletes have these erratic energy patterns. They are not cyclical. They don't follow a specific pattern. Top performers and best athletes follow the same pattern. They go 100% on or 100% off. Never in between. So low performers, those that don't get the results they want, are either working a little bit, but not too much, not really getting too stressed. Oof, I'm just a little bit tired. Let me check my phone. And that adds up to 40% of actual performance out of the 100% they could be doing. They never really fully rest. They never really fully engage. So they are in this twilight zone that meets no glory, as Theodore Roosevelt called it. There's no real engagement. And if there's no engagement, there cannot be any focus. So this is what happens when you are not working with your natural rhythms. When you learn how this works, you learn to gravitate towards working for 90 minutes, resting for 30. Working for 90 minutes, resting for 30. At some point, you have lunch, so you can rest for longer, and then you restart the cycles. And when I say that you can focus for 7.5 hours per day, is 5 sessions of 90 minutes. That's it. 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Totally doable. Now, how is this different from a time block? Or a time batch? Because you could be saying, well, you're still ring fencing, like you're still creating like a block and you're working on one thing. Well, yes, and also no. Because a ring fence session has to be 90 minutes. Not because I say so, but because that's how your brain works. So 90-minute time block in which you have, and this is very important, one very clear objective, perform against a timer. Why a clear objective? Because clear goals is, research has proven, one flow trigger. A flow state, which is an outer state of consciousness in which you feel your best and you perform your best, comes when you stock up triggers. As I said, you cannot manufacture a flow state, but you can induce the condition for that flow trigger to emerge. And one of those conditions is having clear goals. Another flow trigger is working with urgency, or as they call it, high consequences. If you're working against a timer that you have right next to you, and this is mine. I run marathons with this, so nothing too fancy. Can you see it? Nothing too fancy, just a Garmin watch. Nothing too special. But when you use that timer and you see the time going down, that creates natural urgency, and that forces your brain to focus on the task at hand. In this way, by creating artificial deadlines within the day, you get motivated. At the end of the 90 minute, you assess the progress. So that creates a feedback loop, not only on how the task went, but also how your body processes and energy levels are working, right? And also, and this is very important because it induces another flow trigger on the skill level. I'm sure you have noticed that you are very good at some things and just time passes by and just one and merge with the task. And other times you just hate the task and get distracted, right? That happens to all of us. There's a very clear relationship between focus and engagement and actual skill related to that task. So the more information you have about the skill level that you have in relation to the task, the better you will become at inducing a flow trigger. Does that make sense? Are we all clear? Any questions so far? No? Let me check. Cool. Well, in essence, 90 minutes, one objective, one timer, and then at the end of the 90 minutes, we assess the performance. And we do this 5 times a day. What this does is that this creates the ability to have milestones within your day. Instead of reviewing your performance every 3 months, like most people do, at least in a corporate environment, in this case, what you do is you do that every single day. You yourself, if I'm not skilled, it takes time, break performance. No, it does not break performance. If you're not skilled, you get information about the lack of skill. And you also get information about how to get better. This is how you improve. You cannot win Wimbledon if you're an elite tennis player if you do not assess your performance on the amateur circuit first. You were not going to become a brown belt or black belt in judo if you do not assess your performance in every single fight leading to that black belt. But this is the same. Just because you're not skilled on something doesn't mean that you cannot get better. In fact, this is how you get better systematically. This is the way. And after 90 minutes, you chill. You really chill. How do you chill? Well, you chill the right way. Chilling is not checking your phone. Chilling is not, calling a friend. Although that's not too bad. The chilling, the rest and recovery protocols that we need to activate are those that prevent the accumulation of attentional residue. Attentional residue is a technical term that basically states that every time our brain switches from task to task, there's a part of the previous task that gets lingered in the basically in the brain's RAM. So your ability to focus and do the work diminishes over time. The more you task switch, the worse you become at actually getting in focus. So how do you navigate through 90-minute sessions without building up attention residue? By mastering the downtime. And you do that through basically 2 types of protocols. Naps, which 22 minutes is the ideal length, and non-sleep deep rest protocols, which is meditation, yoga nidra, box breathing, or any sort of breath work. Whatever you need to really lower your brain waves, regulate your autonomic nervous system, and then go back at it again. So what else? So then you rest and recover. 90 minutes in, 30 minutes out. 90 minutes in, 30 minutes out. Repeat that 5 times, and you have achieved in 1 day more than you would previously achieved in 1 week. Now, I hear you. You may be telling me, you know what, but what happens when things get thrown at you, when you receive a message, when a Slack or someone wants something from you, or a phone call or an email or whatever? Like, how can I be so structured with my day while still having things competing for my attention? How can I still remain effective, not get derailed during the day, and still become effective? Well, I have this system, which I call the parking lot and the radar, in which every time you have one idea coming to your attention, that idea can be an idea that comes to you that you suddenly remember something that you should have done, but you haven't done yet, or an email, a phone call, a Slack message, whatever. You jot it down and you put it on the parking lot or the radar, depending on how immediate it is for our day. If something is immediate, like calls to be made during the day or tasks completed before the end of the day, then we log it in the parking lot and we devote time for these activities at the end of the day. If that thing is not relevant right now. If it's not going to derail our day, if it's an idea about a future campaign you can launch or a different way of building your business, whatever, but this is still an important idea, then you put it in the radar side. And you keep a log of all the radar ideas that come to your attention. And you always has to be asking yourself how something is relevant to your growth, how does it impact your area of focus, and what resources you have to act on it. So in essence, it looks like this. Every time you're hit by the unexpected, you ask yourself, is it relevant? If it isn't, you delete it. If it's just a distraction, you don't engage in it, you delete it, you move it out of sight, out of mind. If it does impact and you have the resources to act and you can delegate it, you give it to someone else. You get it done. You don't do it yourself. If it cannot be delegated, but it's currently actionable within the day, you put it on the parking lot. And if it's not actionable during the day, like a long-term marketing campaign, you put it on the radar. And same for when you don't have time or resources to act, or it doesn't impact your current area of focus, right? So this is the daily structure to follow based on evidence in order to get to 3.5, even 9 hours of focus every single day. Let me see if there are questions here. Yes, always 90 deep work and 30 chill. Yes, Yannick, as you start building up the brain, you can push to 120 minutes and you can lower your rest and recharge protocols. But now adhere to 90 and 30 until you really get into the groove of listening to your own natural rhythms, right? Start doing this for the rest of your life, because this is literally how you are basically genetically wired to perform. I didn't invent this. Mother Nature did. So leverage it and see how everything really changed. Can you suggest some supplements, food to recharge? Well, Rouse, really, you don't need food to recharge. You need your brain to activate the healing response. If you eat something in order to recharge, you are directing cognitive resources towards digestion. That's not what you want. What you want is, if you're low on glucose, like if you need energy because you're running low on energy because of a lack of food, then by all means eat something. But if, assuming you had a great breakfast, never skip breakfast, by the way. If you do intermittent fasting, intermittent fast at night, never start the day without glucose, then you don't need food. You just need your brain to activate the healing response, and you do that through meditation, through box breathing, through taking a walk, whatever, right? So I'm going to address this at the end of the call, right? All right, so let's move on. And finally, and this is very important, when you finish your day, right? So first we start the day with a routine. Whatever routine you want to create that actually makes you focus better. That is the most important thing. That allows you to focus over the day. Then we give you the best structure for your day, not because I say it, but because that's what we have proven through evidence-based method. Now, what happens at the end of the day? Most people will tell you plan tomorrow today, which is sound advice. It's good advice. You always need to know what you should be doing the day after to avoid wasting time. But this is still average advice. We are becoming elite performers. And we can only reach the top 1% if we do the things top 1% do. Which means that instead of planning tomorrow today and that's it, we look at what happened during the day in order to not repeat the mistakes of the following day. So every night I ask myself, what happened? What did I learn? How to improve tomorrow? The simplest, most effective end of day report. And every one of my employees also does this, a little bit more complex, because I'm asking for the specific tasks that go done and anything that I can do to unblock them. But the idea is the following. Every single day, we look at what we did in order to improve. I do that myself as a CEO, and I ask my employees to do the same. This is how you become better over time. So, are we clear on this? Jure, I'm going to reply to you right now because it pertains to the previous section. So, how to be more focused as someone who is doing 2 jobs? I start my secondary job at afternoon, and I'm seeing it's hard to focus since I'm feeling tired and afraid to take pause 30 minutes because of losing time. I only have 7 hours available to work the secondary side job, which I want to be a primary job. So Hussam, I'm going to be giving the full template. Don't worry. So I'm going to give you my template. You're going to be using this. So last question, how to improve tomorrow, but I'm going to be giving you this. So Jure, what do you do? It doesn't, like, it is the same principle. What you do is you adapt what I show you guys, like the 90-minute, 30-minute, 90-minute, 30-minute, to anything you do during the day, because the time is a continuum. It doesn't matter if you're doing job 1 or job B or you're moving, it doesn't matter. It's 90-minute, 30 minutes, as much as possible. And you do not check your phone during the rest time in order to avoid building up cognitive residue. This is going to allow you to have more mental energy at the end of the day. And Wiz can attest to this, because when you do this the right way, you are way less tired at 8 p.m. You're literally beaming with energy because you have not wasted it checking your phone, getting distracted, or being constantly paper cut. Yes, you can do of course you can do longer chill times. Yes, 1 hour and a half. If you're going to be doing longer chill times, I recommend doing 90 minutes too, because that is the natural cycle, right? Your brain is always going to be moving a 90-minute cycle. So what's a little bit weird, it's like having a 47 rest period. That is a little bit weird because you are confusing your brain. Either 90 minutes or 30 minutes. That is what the research tells us. So you don't need to be 30 minutes only. You can be 90 minutes too, which is what I do at the middle of the day when I, when I nap and I have a lunch. Dario, is there some checklist you do when you do during the rest review sessions? Seems that there are about 3 of those rest review sessions after our work sessions, so we can maximize learning and how we deal with the questions. Yes, we built a tool for this, but I didn't bring it with me. So we give our clients a tool in which they assess what they plan, what they executed on, what's the leverage, what's the focus. So we go deeper than what I brought today, but you don't necessarily need it. The idea is that you know what you were trying to do, you know what you actually did, and that is information that you later put in the end of the report. What if we need to answer clients on the phone? You answer them in a 90-minute session. So you group all the client calls in a 90-minute session. That's the only way of training your focus. If you allow other people to just call you at any random time and disrupt your focus, that is going to have an impact on your ability to focus. And you can always do that. When I work at Deloitte, the real estate consulting firm, I still told my bosses, the partners at the firm, that if they wanted me to actually deliver results, I needed to not reply any email before noon. And I started at 9. So about 3 hours during the beginning of the day. And that I only commanded respect because I actually told them, hey, if I'm checking my email since I get to my job, then I'm not going to be effective. So you can always move things around and have batch communication times in order to be more effective. Cool? Are we clear? Can we move on? Awesome. All right, let's go. So, all right, so we structured the day. So your mental environment, we already designed that for peak performance. Now, what about your physical environment? Because that is very important too. If someone is shouting at your ears, well, you're not going to focus that well. So what do? We design it for peak performance. How? Well, this is it. First of all, and this is very obvious, it has to be clean, has to be tidy, has to be organized. This is very important. The more things that are competing for your attention in your field of vision, the easier it becomes for you to get distracted. And that is exactly what we want to avoid. So if there's clutter, if there's dust, there's dirt, this stuff just around you that do not lead to elite, pristine focus, remove it, clean it, tidy it up, organize it. This is very basic, but you wouldn't believe what I see with our clients sometimes. Then sight. A couple of tricks that are very interesting in order to induce your brain to a higher state of focus. First is how you position your screen influences your alertness. If you're looking to an elevated screen, you are going to be activating the eye reflex, and that is going to have an impact on how well you can summon the necessary neuromodulators to get focus. Sustain alertness. Alertness comes before focus, right? So if you keep your visuals narrow and you have light or your screen is slightly up, you are going to be more prone to get into a deep state of focus, right? Just like the horses that they have these things here to prevent them from getting distracted, just do the same with a hoodie if you need to. So the position of the screen is important, but also try to spend time in nature or have a window pointing towards nature. We cannot escape the fact that we evolved outdoors, right? We are genetically wired to find psychological and physiological well-being when we are looking at nature or experiencing nature. So if you have a window, you can look outside, or one of those ring fence sessions, like in the actual pause, in the 30 minutes of rest and recovery, you can go outside, take a brisk walk. That is going to help you get more focus, because it's going to specifically remove part of the cognitive load, part of the attention residue that you have built up, right? So when you are working, try to look up. When you are resting, try to go outside. Now, sound is very interesting. Our auditory system is processing, even if we're not hearing anything, it's constantly working, which means that even the slightest sounds can have an impact on how we use or how much mental cognitive power we can deploy. Oftentimes, it's not even perceptible, but it is still creating a distortion in an ability to focus. So if you have, like, you know, the humming of air conditioners or heaters, which people think that they don't affect them, they absolutely do. My recommendation is that you spend time in silence. There's plenty of research that proves that your ability to learn and memorize skyrockets when you are in silence. If you can avoid listening to music, please do it, because you're going to be learning faster and creating less attention residue in your brain. Now, if you can't, that doesn't mean that you absolutely cannot focus without music. If music is your thing, keep doing it. But keep in mind that the more diversity of that music, like the more, especially if it has lyrics in a language that you can actually understand, that is going to naturally divert cognitive resources towards those lyrics. So it's not going to be as useful for focusing. What you can do when you are in a very noisy place is to create or use brown, pink, or white noise, or a variation, which is the binaural beats, in order to create a constant frequency in your brain that induces focus naturally. But if you can avoid listening to something, you can really summon a state of profound silence, the better you'll do. In fact, look at this. This is what I put in my ears every single day, but on top of this, and I'm not even kidding, I have this, how do you say this in English? Like, this is for the public works, so they really isolate you. So I use this, and then I put this, so I'm in permanent silence when I'm not on calls. And this is how I can maximize retention and work faster, right? So, you know, I apply everything that I tell you. These are very cheap. This is very cheap, like $10, and it really helps. Light. Long story short, the better lit your environment is, the more it triggers your visual system, the better you will become at focusing, because visual system is very close to the focus and attention system. In the beginning of the day, what you need is to basically jolt up your how do you call this, your attention neuromodulators, your attention and awareness. So try to see the sun as soon as you wake up. Try to have as much eyes in your eyes as soon as you wake up, because that is going to trigger all sorts of neuromodulators. That is going to, neuromodulators mean the transmitters, the hormones in your brain. Now, after 9 hours after waking up, it's time to start dimming the lights, reduce light exposure, and help the brain produce the sleep hormones that will lead you to sleep. And after 17 hours, you should be sleeping if you are not a shift worker or a student. If you're a shift worker or a student, it's the same recipe. As much light as you can, as closer to the eye as you can, in order to remain attentive. Scent and temperature. So scent odor has an impact on productivity and performance. If you have bad smells roaming around, that is going to damage your focus and productivity, and you may not even aware of it. So what I normally recommend is that you have gentle scents, or at least incense, to increase your productivity. I have incense here that I use every day, right? And finally, temperature. Humans operate best at specific temperatures. We are biological machines. We have evolved in a specific environment. We may be too far removed from that environment now, but those rules still apply. So if you can have 22 degrees Celsius or 72 Fahrenheit in your room, you're going to be able to focus better. So while we're clear on this, first we structure the day, then we structure your environment in order to induce focus and not get distracted. Do we have any question on this front? So Harry asks, how do you maintain a flow state if you have multiple tasks in one session that cannot be delegated? If you have multiple tasks on one session that cannot be delegated, you probably are not in a flow state, because a flow state requires the same type of work, the same type of relationship between skill and the task. If you are switching between multiple tasks, you're not in a flow state. You may be doing deep work, but not in a flow state. In order to remain in a flow state, you need to have one specific set of tasks related to one specific set of skills. Let's say, for instance, that very specific example. If you cannot delegate your email, you cannot delegate writing copy, and you cannot delegate doing outreach, good luck trying to get in a flow state doing three things that require different cognitive capacities within the same session. It's not going to happen. What can happen is that you induce a flow state during 90 minutes writing copy. That can absolutely happen. Or, qualifying leads or whatever it is that you do for your cold outreach. But try to separate different types of tasks in different boxes in order to be more effective. Let me know if this makes sense. Okay, let's move on. Jura, I'll reply later. So optimize your performance daily. So last step. So we have a new structure for the day. We have a new environment. What's missing? What's missing is that we pay attention to what we're doing, and we put that on an actual sheet that we look at every single day. That sheet, by the way, is this very same sheet that I'm going to be giving to you, and I'm going to be presenting in a minute. So you see that I do exactly what I tell you guys to do. So first, and this is very important, what we do is we map out the daily schedule that we are going to be following, exactly the things that we are going to be doing. Hour by hour, we map out the ring fence sessions. On the planning side, we said, okay, we're going to start at 9:30 until 11. That's the first ring fence session. And then as the day goes on, we actually map out what we did. Let's say that we didn't get to work at 9:30, but we got to 10. Whatever happened, we put exactly when the ring fence session actually happened. And then we gauge the leverage and the focus of the task, right? If we're writing copy, that is high leverage because it's building an asset that we can later market. If we're sending emails, most times is very low leverage. We're responding to other people's requests. I cannot go very deep into leverage today, but the idea is that the more important the task, the higher is the leverage. And you also map out the amount of focus that you can deploy. So you have a clear understanding on how much focus you were able to drive with each specific task. And that is how you find the level of skill, your skill task relationship, which is one of the core triggers that we discuss when we discuss flow states. Then something that you're going to start doing is also the long-term prioritization and also the short-term prioritization, both at the same time. And you do that in order to get that out of your brain and into the paper, so you can properly map it out over your schedule, right? So long-term ongoing project will be campaign client or new onboarding flow. On the spot prioritization is things I need to be doing right now at this moment. And this, or you also take note of the radar and the parking lot. So the radar, as we said, are those things that are important but not immediately actionable. Things like, you know what, I should contact this guy to set up a partnership. This is not something you do in that same day. It takes time. You need to think about the strategy. So it's probably going to happen in 2-3 weeks time. So you put that into the radar, you jot that down, and then you revisit it at the end of the week to put that into your long-term planning. And parking lot is, hey, I gotta call this guy. I gotta email back this guy because otherwise I'm not gonna get what I want. And you put that into your piece of paper. And finally, the end of the assessment. You were asking me what is the final question, is how to improve tomorrow. So overall, what happened? What did I learn? How to improve tomorrow. And you do this every single day without fail. Most people never ask themselves, how are they doing? You're going to be doing this every single day and after every ring fence session. It takes 5 minutes and it's going to change your life like nothing else because the effect is going to be absolutely immediate. If every time you plan, you perform, you analyze what happened, you made decisions to improve, and you create a new standard every single day, guess what happens? You blow it out of the park. This is how you win. No law of attraction, no magical thinking. You set a plan, you perform, you get data, you improve. This is what makes champions. This is the specific protocol that every top musician, top athlete, top entrepreneur have followed during their life to become better. Plan, perform, analyze, improve, and elevate their standards. This is how you build an elite performer in the arts, in sports, and of course, in business. And this is what happened to you when we start doing this. And this is it. Now time for Q&A. Let me know what you want to discuss, and I'm here for you to discuss it. Questions, questions, questions. Jure, I'm going to the gym at 8, spend 2 hours in the gym, 10 p.m. home, work 10 p.m. at midnight. Is that a good plan? Yeah, Jure, whatever works for you. If going to the gym at the end of the day is working for you, that's perfect. But you gotta understand what is the priority. The priority is building a business or going to the gym, or like how can you actually make it happen? That's a decision you gotta make. Maybe you can go to the gym in the middle of the day in between jobs. I don't know. Like from a performance perspective, going to the gym too late can affect your ability to sleep. But if you're finding it fine to sleep and work on your job, that shouldn't be a problem. What else? What else, gents? Yes, Yannick, you absolutely can. You can whatever is an actual rest and recovery protocols. That's gonna work, right? So yoga nidra, breath box, meditation, whatever it is not checking your phone and accessing kind of TikTok. Gym at day or at night. So Rouse, whatever works for you, but science is pretty clear that if you go into the gym before 3 p.m., it's better for your hormones because especially the sleep-related hormones. If you go too late in the day, that can disrupt your sleep. So I would recommend a day, right? First thing after waking up or in the middle of the day. How to meditate. So meditation is the act of separating yourself from your thoughts. And the protocols is very simple. You go to a room, you sit down without your phone. Well, you put 10 minutes, let's start with 10 minutes on your timer, right? And you just close your eyes and you sit there. The only thing you need to do is to pay attention every time you are lost in thought and bring your awareness back to the breath. And you do that enough times, and over time you fortify your mind, your ability to not get distracted, which is going to have actual consequences in your brain cortical structure. So your brain is literally going to grow thicker if you become an experienced meditator. Best time to sleep, to get deep sleep. It depends on your specific genetic makeup, Rouse, but as a rule of thumb, if you can go to bed at 9 to 10 p.m. and wake up 6 to 7, that works for most humans, for like 80% of humans. It depends on your specific genetic makeup. Deep sleep is a function of a lot of things. It's a function of your overall health, your HRVs, heart rate variability, your VO2 max. There's so many things that go into the equation. But if you go to bed and spend 9 hours in bed, you're going to maximize your deep sleep ability. Where can you find your assessment sheets? I will send it to you. Well, Wiz will send it to you.
Otherwise, guys, I think that is it. Otherwise, Leon's going to be answering questions forever. Dude, I just want to say a huge thank you for today's call. It was exceptional. I had it on the entire time. Of course, there's a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about in our trainings as well too. Is there anything else that you want to bring up, Leon?
No, I think that's it. So guys, mastering yourself is a whole process, as you might imagine. This call was to make it as actionable as possible. So three very simple protocols: the meditation, structure your day, design your environment, and then track everything with the sheet that I'm going to be sending to Wiz, and Wiz, you send them to them, and you start using this every single day. It's going to change your life like nothing else, right? And just a final point, the main point of meditation is not to think about anything. That's good enough, but it's not perfect. So the point of meditation, guys, this is very important. The point of meditation is not to think about anything. The point of meditation is realizing you're thinking about something and then bringing the attention back. That, you know, when you go to the gym, you do a bicep curls. This is 1 rep, right? You get the weight. That is 1 rep. What is 1 rep in meditation? How do you know you're doing an actual rep in meditation and not just wasting your time sitting down in silence? You realize you're lost in thought. You understand that this is what's happening, and then you bring your attention back to your breath. Do that enough time. Every time you do that is a rep. And every time you get distracted during the day, you're going to say, oh, my mind wants to get distracted. You know what? I'm not going to let it, because I'm very good at meditating. So I know how to center my attention. This is the protocol. You don't need an app, because the app will distract you. Although if that makes it easy for you, please, by all means, try an app, but I wouldn't recommend it. What you need is the conscious understanding of what you're trying to achieve, which is you sit down, you realize you're distracted, you bring it back to the breath. And you do not judge yourself if you are not, because you cannot be in silence. Like most people think that meditation is just staying in silence. That you can. The mind has been designed to keep you alive, so it's a constantly thinking machine. You're never going to find like total nothingness. That's called enlightenment, right? You're never going to reach enlightenment, but what you can is realize that you're lost in thought and come back to conscious awareness. This is how you do it. Over time, day after day, you become an absolute warrior of the mind. So you can focus, you can stay calm, you can regulate your stress response. And this has a specific cortical changes. So your brain literally becomes thicker. The latest research that we found was that 10 minutes a day, no, 12 minutes a day for 8 weeks already gives you a measurable increase in cortical thickness. So 12 minutes a day for 8 weeks. This is what I would recommend. If you're not meditators, I would most certainly recommend you do it, because with sleeping, eating, and exercising, to me, it is the 4th most important habit. But that's me, right? Because this is what I normally work with entrepreneurs. If you want the full protocol, you know where to find me, selfmastered.com/welcome. This is what I've been working with Wiz. But in the meantime, please apply everything that I tell you guys, because it's the simplest thing that is going to have the wildest results. And I can personally guarantee that.
For sure. Thank you so much, brother. I just tagged your Twitter account in the chat. You guys can go ahead and all check it out, Utopians. Don't forget to give Leon a huge thank you. He did not have to do all this. He went above and beyond for you all, literally mentored you all today. You're an absolute legend. Let's get some W's in the chats for some thank yous. And don't forget to give him a huge shout out, huge thank you. Just tag him.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Honored to help you, here for you. Please apply it and get the sheet. Wiz, I'm going to be sending it to you right now after the call, so you can start hitting to them. Have a fantastic life, guys. Keep rocking.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.